Living at the intersection of technology and industry, it's often awe-inspiring to see the rate of innovation in the so-called Industry 4.0. Advances in technology from robotics to advanced instrumentation are driving new products and services and promising to profoundly change how the world operates. But the future of industry isn't just the proliferation of connected and intelligent technologies. As operational assets become more complex, they provide more real-time information to interpret and analyze. And all industrial actors are faced with the exponential complexity of enabling safe, trustworthy, and understandable data-driven decisions. The future of industry requires new IT architectures and an evolved data mindset throughout the entire organization. My name is Anna Olsson, and today we'll be talking about the future of industrial DataOps, data management, how to make data a true operational strategic asset, and how this new technology category will pave the way for more digital, more sustainable, and more human-centric manufacturing, power and utilities, and oil and gas industries. First, I would like to welcome Alexandra Teachout, our Director of Product Marketing within our oil and gas vertical. Welcome. Alexandra has over 15 years of experience in enterprise SaaS and location-based data companies across multiple industries, including transport, logistics, and supply chain. Secondly, I would like to introduce Gabe Prado, our Senior Director of Product Marketing within our Power and Utilities vertical. Gabe has a decade of experience in industrial data acquisition, as well as predictive AI and ML, machine learning, software systems for heavy industry. And last but not least, I would like to introduce Ben Skal. Ben has spent the past 3 years helping manufacturers generate more insights from their data and has spent a decade in the manufacturing industry itself. He is currently the Director of Product Marketing within our manufacturing vertical. Welcome to all three of you.
Thank you.
Now let's get to the questions for the panel. I'll start with a question that goes to all three of you. Industrial data ops has been heralded as the next big technology category that will change everything about the way asset-heavy industries work and operate and how they manage their data. Each of you represent a major branch of asset-heavy industry. Can you speak to the way that you see industrial data ops reshaping the way that your verticals work? Who would like to go first?
Okay, I guess I'll go first. So when I think about industrial data ops, I want to step back and sort of ask the why question. And when you think about what it actually is, it's about taking data silos, making meaningful relationships between those different sources, and then not just using them to build one use case, but enabling a series of use cases across your organization. Right? And so when we think about the practical application of this, I put it into one of two buckets. The first are the incremental changes, and then the second is the step changes. So when I'm thinking about incremental changes, what I'm talking about is helping somebody become more productive in their everyday activities, right? So maybe somebody in maintenance or reliability being able to do a root cause analysis faster by having all the data sources they need. When I think about step changes, what we're talking about is combining previously maybe different departments in ways where you combine simulated data with operational data in order to get real-time feedback or even make predictive recommendations on how operations should be modified in order to achieve a more optimized result.
Great insights.
Yeah.
Any input?
I think in particular for the oil and gas industry, the cost of failure or the implications of failing are really high, of course, for people, for safety, for the environment. And that means that when we deploy these solutions across the industry, it's really important to have trust in data. So data quality becomes essential to actually deploying any solution and putting it into operations. And that's where industrial data ops is just really fundamental. The idea of being able to track a raw piece of data all the way through into solutions, when the solution is live and in production, being able to monitor in real time what's happening with that data, but also to have all of those people across the entire organization to be able to have that visibility and insight into what's happening in the solution is critical. So I think that that's one really important place that industrial data ops plays for oil and gas in particular.
Yeah, and then just coming at from the perspective of power and utilities, I think it's no surprise that this industry is in a tremendous amount of change right now, having to deal with new challenges that they haven't quite dealt with before, all knowing that digital is the solution for this. The challenge there is when you're trying to reinvent a very stable, very long-term industry, and you're trying to rethink how processes and everything work, you need speed. It's time, it's how quickly can you change. And with data operations brings a level of efficiency in the digital creation process that really enables this industry to keep up with the pace of change. And I think that's one of the biggest opportunities and challenges today is how do these legacy industries adapt at the speed needed to achieve the reliability and stability long term.
I clearly see the opportunity and value of industrial data ops, but the question, I guess, is how to get there. So Ben, can industrial data management challenges be solved by an incremental approach, like building on the foundation that's there with data warehousing and data lakes? Or should we rethink maybe the who? Who are we actually serving with data management? Is it the data management professional or actually the data consumer or customer in the business?
So that's a great question, and I'll break it up into two parts. So first, thinking about can we reuse the existing infrastructure, and should we? The answer to that is, of course, yes. And when I think about industrial data ops, it's how do we make this solution in a way lightweight? And what I mean by that is we want to reuse the investments that have already been made, but we also want to have minimal impact to that existing architecture, right? So a lot of the times when we're talking about digitalization, it's brownfield facilities that already exist that want to get more value out of the data that they already have. So next, kind of moving over to the consumers and what did you refer to, the data management professionals. Yeah. So I think the ultimate goal is creating that business value, but in order to do that, that pathway is through the data management professional, right? So you want to have the use case that's trusted and has the data quality that you need. And in order to do that, there are data management components like governance and data quality, for example, that are needed. To give a little bit more context to this, take something like a data consumer with a pump efficiency model. So that's the end use case that's been provided from all the data sources that the consumer can then use to make decisions. And what you need from the data management professional is that reassurance and that validation that the recommendation that you're getting is in fact correct, can be trusted, and can be acted upon.
Good points. And if we stay with the data consumers, we see a lot of programs that have been started, and we see also the need, of course, to increase the data literacy amongst these users so that these users can communicate and read and write the data. And Gartner sums it up pretty well. They say actually users can speak data. But is there a way we could reverse this and enable the data to speak human instead? What do you think?
I think it's a really interesting question. And when I break it down, I think humans naturally communicate through stories, right? We've always been storytellers. And in an operational environment, it's just as important to have the narrative for why something is happening. So if we're going to kind of reverse this paradigm, I think for data to speak human, data needs to be able to tell stronger stories with less effort. And what that means is being able to go down the pathway and really understand root cause by looking at data across your enterprise, right? You might have an indicator coming from your time series saying that there's an alert that needs to be addressed, but that's only one piece of this narrative. You then need to go to your history. When was the last time you saw this similar signature? And that's a different data source. You then look at your work orders, you look at how the repair was done previously, and by looking at that across 3 different systems and 3 different processes and likely different owners, you have a much more complete narrative for how to solve the problem affecting your plant or your operations at that given time. So I think really it's flipping to how efficiently can you tell that narrative, or how efficiently can data be structured to tell that narrative with less effort. And this is some of what data operations brings to the table, is the relationships and the contextualization and the context for all of these individual data points to be put into true context so that a good action or a good result can follow.
Great. Alexandra, I have a question for you as well.
Sure.
Looking ahead, what should be 3 focus areas that these new data management leads, if you call them that, or chief data officers, maybe the new title is, the 3 focus areas that they need to shortlist to act on the next year?
Yeah, so at the risk of being too simplistic, cutting it down to 3, but also being pragmatic, I think that, to think about things, data management leaders, you call them chief data scientists, right? Or chief data officers. Chief data officers, different names in different organizations, right? But the people responsible for data doers or data management teams, and also responsible for deploying digital across the organization, depending on, the enterprise or the industry as well. I think there's sort of maybe 2 ways or maybe 3 ways that I would suggest or look at. And the first is, of course, their own teams and the data doers themselves. So there's still massive challenges around just being able to find data, locate data. I talked a little bit about data quality. We've talked about making sense of data. Gabe's mentioned around making sense of data. So one is around really how you use the latest tools and technology to make sense of data and just create a product that can then be applied to several use cases. So one is just solving that challenge. That is a very real challenge today, and there are many technologies that they can focus on. But the other is a bit more of taking a step back and thinking about how we lay this foundational layer, this one semantic data model, which everyone at the organization can then build from or learn from. So it's around using a platform that everyone can collaborate around. And then thinking in the notion of deploying quickly or picking one proof of concept perhaps, or one lighthouse that you can build for, but not doing that in a silo, which is where we typically get stuck. And this is where industrial data ops becomes so important, is that if we take a step back and think about solving data problems from the foundational data layer, which is of course much harder than what I'm just saying. It's a foundational data layer, but using things like creating this contextualized model. Then we open up the use across the entire org. And that's sort of the third point that I'd like to make, or perhaps suggest to leaders in data management and digital, is that once we do that, then we can extend the reach to our operational counterparts as well, to say, what are the real challenges, what are the risks, what are the friction points that people are experiencing on the plant floor, on the asset, right? And be able to take that data, so now you've moved from worrying about those data challenges, and truly operationalizing data and having it be live in production and seeing the results of that, not in silos, but different solutions in tandem, right? Or in parallel, I should say, that are deployed and improving operations across the organization. So it's a big task when I say it like that. I don't think it's quite 3 very pragmatic ways to start, but if we simplify it and take a step back of the whole system and how we deploy digital, I think before we start tackling things, it can be, I think it helps to lend the foundation for the digital path that an industry might be on.
That's great. Then we have kind of 3 streams that could be the focus area for these new data management professionals.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
And you have something to help them. There's a new book.
So absolutely. And I think, to varying degrees in our industry, and of course, every individual company is on its own digital journey and at a different level of digital maturity. But industrial data ops as a concept it's sort of a paradigm shift. And I think we live and breathe it every day with our customers and implement things, but it is new for many people. So we took the approach of writing a book, creating a practical manual that helps our customers navigate what industrial data ops, first of all, what does it mean? But more importantly, how does it bring value for their organization? And then very practically, how I gave some 3 meta, examples of where we can think about in the next year. But very practically, what could you start to think about when you're experiencing this shift in your organization? What kind of questions can you ask of vendors? How can you start small and grow? So co-authors on the stage here, if you have something else to say about the definitive guide to industrial data ops.
I think there's a conception that we have to wait for data to be perfect. But the paradigm shift here is, how do you leverage what you have to iterate quickly and build and learn and test and fail? And DataOps provides that opportunity to lower the costs of failure, because it no longer takes 6 months to do a data project, right? You can learn, you can experiment. So that's what gets me really excited about data operations. It's a true paradigm shift, and we tried to capture as much of this secret sauce in this book so that that industry can evolve at the pace that they need to.
Great, thank you all. And Alexandra, I guess the audience might wonder, how can they read this book?
Yeah, absolutely. So, of course, we have hard copies available. It's really nice to have one in hand. But you can go to cognite.com. We have a digital copy available as well there, so you can reach out.
And you can download it?
Absolutely.
Great.
Yep.
Okay, with that, I would like to wrap up this, and of course, first say a thank you to all of you for participating today. It's been a wonderful conversation, and even if there are data challenges in the industry, I'm really convinced now that there are ways of getting to operationalized and better data-driven decisions based on getting access to meaningful contextualized data and trusted data, as you mentioned as well, Alexandra. Be able to trust it and make good decisions. Thank you so much.